When most people hear the word immigration, they don't think of people. They think of headlines, sound bites, political arguments. They think of opinions they've heard 1,000 times, online, on TV, at the dinner table. But very rarely do we stop and ask, what's the story underneath the story? And even more rarely, where did my own beliefs about this come from? Well, today I want to gently slow down the conversation, not to judge anyone's beliefs, but to invite you into a moment of reflection, a moment where you can explore the roots of your thoughts, the emotions behind them, and maybe even the humanity inside them. Because when we talk about immigration, we're not talking about numbers. We're talking about human beings. We're talking about families, loss, identity, and the universal human need to belong. And sometimes the best way to remember that is to start with a simple story. So, when I was 8 years old, a Cambodian family fled their country and came to the United States. Their homeland was being overtaken by communists. Their lives were in danger, and in that escape, they were forced to leave a sister behind. I didn't understand the weight of that at this time. I was a kid, and it was the 1970s. All I knew was that their children ended up in my class, and I liked them. We became friends the way children do, instantly, naturally, without hesitation. We played outside after school. I went to their house often. I remember sitting on the floor eating rice and chicken gizzards with them, laughing and trying new foods and learning little pieces of their language, absorbing their warmth. I didn't think of them as immigrants. I didn't think of them as foreign. I didn't think about borders or politics or labels. I just saw people. I saw friends. It wasn't until I was older that I learned their full story, how they had lost so much, how they had come here for safety, how traumatic and brave that journey really was. And somewhere in that realization, I learned compassion. Not as an abstract idea, not as something taught in school, but as something lived, felt, experienced. And I often wonder how different the world might be if more of us paused long enough to remember the human behind the headline. When it comes to immigration, a lot of us carry beliefs that we never consciously chose. Maybe they came from the household that we grew up in, the news that we were exposed to, the fears that we heard adults express, our community's culture, or the constant messaging that immigrants are the problem. And when something is repeated often enough, it begins to feel like the truth. But here's the thing: inherited beliefs can feel like our own, even when they're not. So today, I want to invite you into a gentle curiosity. Where did my beliefs come from? Were they shaped by someone else's fear? Do they reflect the kind of person I want to be? Do they match my values? Or just my conditioning? And what emotions do I feel when this topic comes up? Because beneath every opinion, there is a feeling. And beneath that feeling, there is a story. At the heart of immigration debates is something very human: the fear of losing identity. People worry, will my community change? Will my values be replaced? Will there be enough for me? Will I lose what feels familiar and safe? These fears don't make someone bad, they make them more human. They're the same fears that people have carried for thousands of years. But here's the twist: feeling the other is often a reflection of a fear that we haven't acknowledged within ourselves. Sometimes we fear losing our sense of belonging. our economic security, our cultural identity, our illusion of control, or our idea of what America should look like. When we feel threatened, whether that threat is real or imagined, we judge, we generalize, we dehumanize, not because we're hateful, but because we're scared. But what if the real growth is in recognizing that fear and choosing connection instead of separation? What if the real question isn't, should immigrants be here, but why does the topic trigger something in me? That is where the real insight begins. Humans have always moved for safety, for opportunity, for food, for survival, for hope. Migration is not a modern crisis. It's one of the oldest stories of humanity. Your ancestors moved. My ancestors moved. Everyone listening to this has migration somewhere in their bloodline. Movement is part of what it means to be human. But somewhere along the way, we forgot that. We replaced the human story with fear, with scarcity, and political talking points. And yet, if you strip everything down, every belief, every argument, every fear, you will find this truth. Every human wants the same thing: to feel safe, to feel seen, and to feel like they belong. And when we deny that to others, we disconnect from something inside of ourselves. So, immigration is not just a political issue, it's a mirror. It asks us, who do we believe deserves safety? Who do we believe deserves opportunity? Who do we think is worthy of belonging? And where did these ideas come from? Because our beliefs about immigration often reveal our beliefs about humanity itself. And sometimes the compassion we show others is a reflection of the compassion we allow in ourselves. So the question is, are you allowing yourself compassion? So when I think back to that 8-year-old version of me, sitting cross legged on the floor of a Cambodian family's home, eating rice and chicken gizzards, I'm reminded of something simple. Children don't divide the world the way adults do. Children don't see borders. Children don't see us versus them. Children don't rank worth. They see connection. They see curiosity. They see humanity. Maybe the work for all of us is to find our way back to that child within, the one who sees with openness instead of fear, the one who recognizes the human first, the one who doesn't need a headline to tell them who to love and who to judge. So, as you can see, the topic of immigration is layered and emotional. It's tied to identity, fear, and the desire for safety. But it's also filled with stories, real stories of courage, loss, love, sacrifice, and hope. If today's reflection stirred something in you, good. That means you're paying attention. That means you're growing. That means your willingness to see beyond the noise. So if you want to keep up with exploring this with me, stay tuned. And remember to look at the world and see yourself through an insightful lens. And in the next video, we're going to bring all of this together, where I share how 3 unexpected conversations reshaped the way that I view worth, belonging, and what it truly means to be human.